and welcome to GameSack. This time around I'm taking a look at some new games for old consoles. Now these games aren't necessarily brand new, but they were all made and released after the consoles ended their official lifespan, so I'm going to count them. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. This is 4x4 Jam on the Sega Dreamcast, developed by Invictus. This is a competitive off-road racing game. Well, actually only some of what you do is actual racing. In these events, you need to go between the checkpoints around the improvised track for a predetermined number of laps and be sure to place first. Sometimes it can be hard to tell where the track actually is, but you'll figure it out. Pretty basic stuff that's still fun, but there are more modes to enjoy in this one. One of them is called Jam. In this one, you're free to drive anywhere in the open space. But gates are randomly generated, and you need to be the first one through the gate to win it. The first vehicle through the predetermined number of gates wins the round. You'll need to follow the arrow below your vehicle in order to know which direction the gate is. The gate disappears immediately once the first vehicle passes through it and the other one is generated elsewhere. It doesn't sound like much, but I have fun with this mode. The other mode is called Collector. Once again, everyone is free to roam around the open environment wherever they want. Scattered about are red coin-looking icons. The first one to collect a predetermined amount of these things wins. As you win, you unlock the next stage, and there are a ton of these stages to unlock, so it'll keep you busy. You can also buy new vehicles once you win enough money. But if you can't afford it, you're informed that you have no enough money. Don't you just hate it when you have no enough money? I sure do. Some vehicles, like this one, feel pretty slippery, so choose wisely. Otherwise, the control is certainly adequate. The graphics are fairly good and usually move at a nice frame rate. The music is full of hard rhythm guitars and it certainly feels appropriate. But the worst thing is that this is only a single player game. The Jam and Collector modes would be so fun with multiple players. And yes, this is coming from a guy who prefers single player games. I know that a lot of people don't have a broadband adapter for their Dreamcast, so I can understand why the developer didn't support it, but damn, it would be fun. As a single player game, it's still fun, I just feel it missed its calling. I think it would have been really popular had it been released as an online game back in the day.
J1.
Here's Alice's Mom's Rescue from HuCast on the Dreamcast. It's also available on Steam. You're Alice of Alice in Wonderland fame, and your mom has been kidnapped by a giant crow for who knows what reason. Obviously, that means you need to rescue her in this 2D puzzle platformer. The only button you really need to worry about is jump. However, there are mushrooms that you can jump on to change Alice's size. That's because she needs to be small in order to get through certain parts of many stages. A small mushroom makes her small, and a big mushroom restores her to her normal size. Pretty easy to figure out. You'll also need to find and collect colored keys in order to unlock the same colored doors as you make your way to the exit of each stage. You have a life meter which fortunately lets you take a few hits, and touching pretty much anything will harm you. There are also gems to collect, but as far as I can tell, these are only good if you're going for a perfect clear on the level you're playing. The control is mostly fine. However, when you're small, it feels a little too slow for my taste. Maybe a lot too slow. Also, the moving platforms change direction on a dime without any speed ramping, so they can often be difficult to judge. Still, you have unlimited lives, so you can try each level as many times as you want. And I have to admit, it took me many times to get past a few of the lower levels before I completely learned them. The graphics are very 8-bit, but they're also extremely clean, and fortunately VGA is supported. I like the music, however the sound effects are mixed a bit loudly in comparison. Hardly a deal breaker though. Overall, it's a good time as long as you're not impatient. Once you get past a stage, you'll likely never want to play it again unless you're going for a perfect score, which I imagine some people will want to do. Not me though. Once I'm finished the stage, I never want to think about it again. Not really my type of game, but you might possibly enjoy it. Alright, so that was 2 games published by Josh Prouder, and I'll take a look at a few more in a bit. But first, how about a brand new Genesis game? This is Tanglewood for the Genesis/Mega Drive, which was released in 2018 from Big Evil Corporation. It's also on PC. This is another 2D puzzle platformer. I absolutely love 2D platformers, but 2D puzzle platformers are quickly becoming a different story for me. Anyway, in this one, you play as a fox called Nim. For whatever reason, you need to make your way to the next area. That seems to be the story. Nim controls extremely well as he walks and jumps around. He can even bounce on mushrooms to gain more height. Holes on the ground often do the same thing, or they can transfer you to a different part of the large area that you're currently in. You can collect fireflies that are floating around if you want a perfect score, but otherwise they don't seem to do anything that you need to care about. There are also colored fuzzballs laying around here and there. If you push them back to their nest, they grant you a temporary ability based on their color. For example, turning yellow will let you glide for a while after you jump. Turning green will let you slow down time and sneak past beasts and whatnot. Turning blue will let you tame a beast and ride it, which is actually pretty fun. You have unlimited lives as well as a password feature. Press start during gameplay to reveal the current password. This all sounds fun and well thought out, and it is, but for me personally, I get annoyed with having to run around and memorize a large level, figuring out what to push where and when in order to proceed. To me, it feels more like a chore. That's not a knock against the game because obviously there are plenty of people out there who enjoy this kind of gameplay, but I just find myself wishing for a traditional skill-based platformer. I will say though that I did have fun finding ways to defeat the bosses here. It's very satisfying crushing them with a boulder. The graphics are minimal and are certainly nothing to complain about, but it's clearly nothing that hasn't been seen before on the console. The music is light and atmospheric. It's not horrible, and that is when it's playing. A lot of the game is spent without music, which makes it feel kind of empty and boring. There's a YM2612 SSG-EG option that's supposed to make it sound better, but you can turn this off if you have audio problems. I didn't have any issues that I know of on my Model 1 VA2 that I'm using here, which is my original Genesis. But honestly, I can't tell what the feature is supposed to enhance, as the quality of the sound and music doesn't even approach mid-tier Genesis games. I am impressed with the quality of the box and cartridge. The plastic feels very authentic, which is more than can be said of a lot of homebrew games that get physical releases. I'd prefer a vertically oriented manual, though somehow I think I'll find a way to survive. All in all, it's not my type of game, and each time I play a puzzle platformer, I start to dislike the genre more and more. But I'm not you, and that means you won't have the same exact opinion as me, and that's fine. But hopefully you can understand why I say the things I do and use it to help you make your own decision about the game. Do you like horizontal shooters? Well, how about Duck's version 1.5 on the Sega Dreamcast from HuCast? This one is clearly inspired by R-Type, as you have a similar pod thingy attached to the front of your ship. If you press the R trigger, it can even absorb enemy shots from afar, but you don't need to press that button to absorb shots just by touching them. It can be detached and used in similar ways that you might use it in R-Type, though it can't shoot backwards by attaching to the rear of your ship. You have a rapid fire shot just by holding down the X button. You have a few different power-ups you can collect, which affects your main weapons and your sub-weapons. You can hold down the A button to charge up a super shot, which also seems to have the ability to be powered up. But you can't fire your regular rapid shot while you're charging your powerful one. The control feels pretty good, and your ship moves at a decent speed. And that's good because there are no speed power-ups. When you die, you respawn right there immediately. If you run out of lives, you have 3 continues. In each stage, there are stars to collect which act as checkpoints, and these are where you'll respawn if you use a continue. And there are actually quite a few of these stars in each stage. I really like the visuals here, as everything is bright and dreamy. There's not a ton of variety, but what's here looks good. Well, except for the final stage, which is mostly just white. I think they could have done more here. The bosses of each stage are usually attached to the right wall and aren't anything overly imaginative. The music is great, and it definitely increases my enjoyment of the game as I play. And that's a good thing, because there's not a lot of challenge here. In fact, I beat this game the very first time I played it, and there's no difficulty select in the options screen. This is interesting because version 1.5 here fixes the difficulty of the original, which was supposedly insanely hard. I feel that if they got rid of the checkpoints for the continue system, that would help a lot. Instead, use the checkpoints to respawn as you die. It would be more challenging for sure, but it would still be beatable. Still, if you want an enjoyable experience that isn't overly punishing, try this one out. And in 2014, HuCast released Redux, also for the Dreamcast. This is a pseudo-sequel, I suppose, and it makes some of the changes that I suggested only seconds ago in my Dux 1.5 review. Well, kind of. The stars are still here, but they're no longer checkpoints for continues. Now when you continue, you start over from the beginning of the stage. You still respawn instantly when you die, though. This game is definitely more difficult. I think that's because now you collect gold nuggets almost the entire time you're playing, and they fly straight into your ship. It's actually really distracting, and it makes it hard to avoid enemies. And I don't know why I'm collecting gold nuggets. I don't need my shooters to be collectathons as well. The bullet sucking mechanic has also been changed, and it's really odd. You have a perimeter beam around you and it stays on for a while, but it doesn't always work when you press the R button. Also, it doesn't seem possible to detach your pod anymore. That button now cycles through your sub-weapons. The stages and music are all new, but the bosses seem the same. Sadly, the graphics are half the resolution of Dux 1.5 and look a lot chunkier as a result. I think they're going for that 240p look, but I really liked how smooth Dux 1.5 looked. It's a decent shooter, but I feel the design is still just a bit off. Shifting gears a little, let's take a look at some Neo Geo games. However, since I make less than $15 million a year, I have to play the Dreamcast versions like some sort of schlub. Let's check out the games from NG Dev Team. First up is Last Hope Pink Bullets. Or is it Pink Bullets Last Hope? Why did the bullets gotta be pink? Anyway, this is another R-Type inspired horizontal shooter, at least visually. It's actually a bit more like Polestar on the Neo Geo, which itself was inspired by R-Type. This was released in 2006 for the Neo Geo and also ported to the Dreamcast. That's the version I'm playing because the Neo Geo version is crazy expensive since they only made 60 copies for it. Anyway, you can rotate your pod around your ship with the left and right triggers. This feels only marginally effective as the firepower coming from it is pretty weak. There's really not much else you can do with the pod. The power-ups for your ship aren't very exciting at all, and it's super easy to die since it can be very difficult to see the things that can hit you. Still, the graphics are very well done, especially for the Neo Geo, and they even look great on the Dreamcast here. And the bosses look pretty awesome. As a game, it's not tremendously exciting, but I can appreciate it for what it is. Oh, and of course, the music is outstanding. NG Dev Team's next game was Fast Striker in 2010, once again for the Neo Geo and Dreamcast. You can also get it for the iOS, the Vita, and the PS4. This is a vertical shooter, and it would have been a great game to showcase back in our episode about games with pre-rendered graphics, because that's all this game is. I mean, look at those backgrounds! Sadly, once you play about 5 seconds of any stage, you've seen everything that the backgrounds have to offer until you make it to the next stage. And there's not much color in these backgrounds. It's all basically monochrome, emphasis on the chrome. The enemies are also pre-rendered. As a game, it's okay. It doesn't introduce anything that makes it exciting. You can shoot forwards and backwards by pressing different buttons. Pressing yet another button will give you a slightly spread out forward shot. Lastly, you have a shield that will make you invincible, but you can only use it a few times. There's lots of stuff to collect here, even gold nuggets that dart towards your ship. I bet this is where the Redux guys got that idea. Unfortunately, there really isn't much here in the way of power-ups. The music is really good, of course, but overall this one felt kind of bland despite being very technically impressive. This here is Gunlord, also for the Neo Geo and Dreamcast, released in 2012. This is actually a follow-up to Last Hope, at least story-wise. Right away, you can tell that this one is inspired by Turrican. However, this one has one major improvement, and that's how you can shoot up and down and all around instead of just left and right. Actually, couldn't you shoot in multiple directions in some of the later Turrican games? I really don't remember if you can or not, at least not as I'm sitting in front of the microphone recording this right now. Otherwise, it's basically Turrican, complete with similar weapons and abilities. And that is not a bad thing at all. It controls and plays extremely well. It's incredibly fun to run, jump, and shoot all around the huge levels. In fact, I'd say it controls better and is far more fun than either of the Turrican games that appeared on the Super Nintendo. And that's saying quite a bit. To break up the action, there are a few horizontal shooter levels. These aren't very tough, but they're fun. Both the run and gun and the shooter levels feature some pretty cool giant bosses. Sometimes the screen can get really busy and overwhelming, but I never got confused as to where my character was or what's going on. The difficulty feels just about right as well, and you don't want to stop playing. But you will run out of continues before too long. The graphics are quite amazing, especially for the Neo Geo, and they definitely still hold up today. And the music is absolutely phenomenal, and it actually sounds like something that Chris Hulsbeck of Turrican fame might create. You can get this game now as Gunlord X for the Nintendo Switch. It's mostly the same all around, but there have been a few enhancements. For one, the game now gives you a wider field of view. They didn't just stretch it or anything lazy like that, the game is actually adding more graphics to the sides. Then there are some minor transparency and lighting/gradient effects. This stuff also puts a lot more on screen, especially during the shooter stage. Lastly, it gets rid of almost all of the slowdown. I can't seem to find the exit for level 3 though. It should be this way, but I don't seem to be able to proceed no matter where I go or what I shoot. Either there's a bug in this version or I'm just an idiot, and you're probably safe betting on the latter. It's still a fantastic game, and this version will save your progress, and that is very welcome. Neo XYX is another shooter for, you guessed it, the Neo Geo and the Dreamcast. This one was released in 2013. It's a vertical shooter, but it actually goes full on and uses the vertical aspect ratio. That's right, you'll need to tilt your TV on its side in order to get the full experience. But the default screen setting has you playing it like a horizontal shooter. It adjusts the position of the score and rotates the various icons and things that you collect 90 degrees. And that's kinda cool, at least it makes everything kind of right side up. The Dreamcast version has a few different ways that you can change the screen. Anyway, this is a much better game than Fast Striker. The backgrounds now have some actual personality and variety. The sprites all look good too. You have a regular rapid shot as well as a giant bomb-like attack. If you hold the R trigger, your ship slows down and fires a more powerful shot. But of course, it's much harder to escape enemy bullets while using this. This one is definitely a bullet hell shooter as your hitbox is super tiny. Don't worry though, the bad guys are still gonna find a way to kill you. This one is pretty fun to play, though I'm not tremendously fond of the aspect ratio, but that's really only a very minor complaint. And the music is spectacular, who would have guessed? I mean, come on, you know you're gonna get good music in a game from NG Dev Team. FX Unit Yuki for the Turbo Duo and the like was released in 2018 after a successful crowdfunding campaign. This one was originally called Henshin Engine as a play on words with PC Engine, but they had to change the name due to trademark reasons. This is a straight up 2D side-scrolling platformer. Now, this is something I've been craving for quite some time. Yuki just got a job at game company JEC, which is of course a parallel for the real-world NEC. And in case you didn't know, they're the ones who sold the TurboGrafx and the PC Engine. And of course, she gets sucked into a game and now needs to set things right. It all starts out with a tutorial, just in case you forgot how to play a 2D action platformer. The control is simple and usually adequate. You can slash with your weapon, jump, and there's also a couple of different special attacks that you can do. As you play through the game, a creepy guy will sometimes pop up and talk to you, and often he gives you an extended ability, like being able to slide or double jump. He's still creepy though, I don't like him. Each stage is a parody on another game that appeared on the PC Engine. For example, this one is based on New Adventure Island. The shooter level here is based on Cotton, and this one is based on Castlevania Rondo of Blood. Or how about this one, which is like Bonk's Adventure? Actually, they're not based directly on those specific games, they just channel those series for inspiration and make no apologies for it. The graphics can often look pretty similar. Anyway, I love this and it's fun to see what they came up with. You can tell that people who love video games made this one, and they especially love the TurboGrafx 16. Or PC Engine. I never know how to refer to this system as it has so many different things you can call it. I'm just glad that the Turbo is getting some love. Anyway, like I said, it controls fine. There are some weird things that can happen on occasion with the stairs, but it certainly isn't game-breaking. The worst thing is probably that the bounce back after getting hit is extreme and can be very unforgiving. This underwater level feels perhaps a bit too long and empty though, and these switches can sometimes be hard to flip. The graphics for the most part are pretty damn good. There's plenty of parallax scrolling, and you've got to keep in mind that this is a system that wasn't really built for this. The sprites are cute and well done, and the cutscenes look pretty good as well. And it goes without saying that the music is absolutely phenomenal. Some of the best video game music out there, in fact, at least in this style. The Kickstarter made some stretch goals, so it came to a couple of other consoles, like the Genesis here. This is a pretty quick port, and honestly, I don't really blame them considering that they only raised $35,000 total to make and manufacture every single version. Sadly, that means that this one doesn't take advantage of the Genesis hardware at all, with one exception which I'll get to in a second. The colors are very flat. Some of the graphical effects are missing. And there's a lot more slowdown here. The flicker from the PC Engine version is here as they didn't use the Genesis's second background layer at all. The buttons in the shooter level are backwards. The right button shoots to the left and the left button shoots to the right. But amazingly, this only takes like 2 seconds to get used to. Lastly, this only works on Model 1 Genesis consoles and clones. I can't tell you why. However, these switches are a lot easier to flip in the Genesis version. The part that they did actually put some work into is the music. The sound effects aren't so hot, but they did a pretty good job porting the original CD music over. It's not the best sound driver that the console has ever seen, or heard rather, but it still sounds good enough and the music is still fantastic. Even with these issues, it's still fun to play. It also came out on the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast is sure popular when it comes to making new games. They actually added a few small touches here, like getting rid of the odd flicker that the other two versions saw. The cutscenes also have more color than any other version. The colors during the gameplay are all still here, and so are all the graphical effects. Even the outstanding CD music is here, just like you'd expect. But there are a couple of things that I don't like. First, the scrolling has tons of shimmering and there are no resolution options to fix this. They did add an option to cycle through scan lines, a blur filter, and no filter on the fly, but none of that really helps much. Secondly is the control. I don't know what it is, but this version seems much more difficult than any of the others. I have a very difficult time accomplishing what I'm trying to do. The stairs are the absolute worst. It looks like I'm just screwing around, but no, I'm really trying hard here. I even ran out of lives in the easy mode and had to continue on the first stage due to the overly aggressive bees and the extreme amount of bounce back. Granted, the Dreamcast controller isn't exactly a finely engineered instrument of precision, but still. All of the versions are fun though, but go for the Turbo CD version if you can. It's not perfect, but it's definitely the best version. All right, so those are some new games for old consoles for you. And hello.
Hey, how's it going?
So how did you get in here? You had to come in from over there and walk in front of the camera, in front of me.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, what really matters is I've got some games I want to talk about, Joe.
Well, okay.
Yeah, so let's do that. Here's Haunted Halloween 86 from Retrotainment Games. It's the sequel to Haunted Halloween 85 that I covered in our Scary Games episode back in October of 2018. If you haven't seen that episode, check it out because it's hella scary. The first game was fun and had a simplistic charm to it that made it enjoyable to play, and Haunted Halloween 86 really turns it up in a lot of areas. Unlike the first game, your basic moveset includes being able to duck, drop down to a lower platform, and you can pick up and throw certain things. Like these crates that will hold valuable life-giving candy corn. Or you can pick up the heads of certain enemies that you knock off of their bodies and use them to damage other enemies. You couldn't do any of this in the first game. Then there's the special abilities that you can get. As you make your way through the game, you'll be able to gain these new abilities that for the most part really help you out and make the game easier and definitely more fun to play. Things as simple as a double jump or an uppercut. One of the best new abilities is the forward dash. You can use this not only to dash forward, but to take out some nasty enemies that are after you. Then there's this one ability that you can get called the charged upward attack. Now when you think of charging, if you're like me, it sounds like it's going to take a bit of time to pull off. And that it does. It's simple to do and all you do is hold down until you flash and then hit the B button. But it takes way too long to charge up. Even if you see an enemy across the screen, they'll usually still reach you before you start flashing, which makes the attack worthless. I mean, I grow ear hair faster than it takes to charge this attack up. Other than that, the amount of moves and abilities you have in this title are really fun to play around with, and that keeps the entertainment level up. In the first game, you controlled Donnie alone, but in this title, you control Donnie and or Tammy. Just hold in the select button for a second and you can switch between the characters on the fly. Both characters control the same, and the good news is that all the abilities that you've unlocked are usable by both protagonists. Just like the first game, you don't have a life bar, but rather slowly turn into a zombie when you take damage and you die after the fourth hit. The game is fun and the levels are decently designed. I had no problem platforming in the first game, but this time around I feel a bit more slippery when I'm jumping from a small platform to the next. The graphics feel on par with the first game. There's certain areas that look pretty good with some good art and even some parallax scrolling. Other areas are just drab and don't have much going on, and I sit there thinking, what am I looking at? And the music isn't anything special, but I don't hate it by any means. Like the first game, I did find a fair amount of enjoyment while playing. The addition of a password feature really helps since nowadays I don't play games for long periods of time. If you want to buy the game, a card-only copy will cost you $50, but I would recommend the complete copy for $60. A lousy $10 more will get you a box and instructions along with a cool jack-o'-lantern orange cartridge. It's nice to see some good homebrew games for the NES, and this is one that you might not want to skip. This is Ghostblade for the Dreamcast, released in 2015 by HughCast. This one is a 2D horizontal shooter. Boy, there sure seem to be a lot of homebrew shooters. Now, as you may know, I'm not really very good at shooters, but I still enjoy playing them. And this one actually surprised me with how much I like it. The first thing you do is choose which girl you think is the hottest. How can I choose just one? All three of them are really hot. Actually, you're choosing your spaceship and the girls are the pilots. Sadly, you never see them during the game. Anyway, each ship has its own method of attack, so you can choose your favorite. With the middle ship, your normal attack is a spread, which expands as you power it up. With the green ship, it's a narrow rapid fire beam that never widens very much. With the right ship, it's also a spread attack, but each shot shoots straight ahead. In addition, each ship has a focus attack button. This brings in your shot to focus on a narrow area, which is great for bosses. This also makes you move a bit slower, which can be good or bad depending on how much is on screen. For the green ship, it doesn't make your field of attack any narrower, but it makes it fire faster. There's also a bomb attack for when things get messy, and each ship has the same attack. The enemy bullets can become stars after they are defeated, and these are automatically absorbed into your ship as you fly nearby. These are for points and also fill up a meter on the screen a teeny tiny amount. But if you defeat enemies with your focus attack, you collect tech orbs. These fill up your meter much faster. Once it's full, you acquire another bomb to use. Graphically, the game is pretty good but not mind-blowing. There's good use of color and plenty of detail, but not much in the way of multi-layered backgrounds. I'd also prefer a full screen experience instead of a vertically oriented one. The frame rate can dip from time to time, but it never bothered me very much. The game also has a Tate mode. Tate mode!
Tate mode!
This gets rid of any shimmering you'd see in the normal mode, but the slowdown and dropped frames are much worse here. Using your bomb attack can be downright ugly. The music is really good for the game and I enjoyed it a lot, though I had to turn it down a hair in the options screen. After multiple tries, I could only make it to the stage 4 boss with the green ship, but I still had fun each time I played it. Check it out if you like vertical shooters.
So those are some new games for old consoles for you. A lot of them were from the Dreamcast.
That's true. It seems like that's still a very popular system to develop for. I mean, is it easy to develop for, I guess? I don't know, but
I'm guessing.
Either way, it's nice to see some new games for old systems.
Indeed. Anyway, let us know some new games for old consoles that you'd like to see me, not him, cover in the future. And in the meantime, thank you for watching GameSack. So Dave, it's been a while since you've been on GameSack. Have you been watching the show?
Yeah, I've been watching it.
So what do you think? You like what I'm doing?
Well, Joe, I'll be frank with you. I think it's ass! The camera you use to make GameSack? It's full of ass! The studio you shoot GameSack in? It's complete ass! Your rare Saturn games are full of ass! This is your whole 3DS collection? It's ass! This shrub, it's ass! Whatever game was in here, it's probably ass! Even your beloved green dog is ass! Your drone is ass! Snatcher on vinyl? It's ass!
No, actually it's not. It's really cool. Can you get that back, dude?
I need to relieve you of this.